This is Morten from Inkish reporting from Drupa, 5th day. I think a lot of us, you just came, so you cannot be tired already, but we're going to talk to my good friend Andrew. Good to see you.
Always good to see you.
I mean, you came in only yesterday evening, right?
Last night, that's right.
Yeah, because I mean, you had other things to do before coming to Drupa.
Well, we worked it in 2 shifts. I get the last half of the shift, which is good because then that's when you get like the real customers coming in, and when you can have better conversations. It's a little less crowded, so just the way I like it.
So you would say you're doing the heavy lifting, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
As always, right?
As always. I mean, wonderful to see you again, and also wonderful to see you here at the Fujifilm booth in front of the Revoria machines, right? When we discussed what we were going to talk about, and we talked about machines, I was a little bit surprised because sometimes in the past, when you and I have been talking, we also talked about all the wonderful business opportunities you have in print, right?
Oh, and we'll get there.
We get there.
Promise you.
You promise me.
Yeah, I promise
okay.
you. But
otherwise, I would have been disappointed. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I got to talk about some of the new stuff, right? So.
Yeah, okay, great. So, you told me that the same fine toner that you have on the PC1120, you are bringing to 2 new machines that are 5-color configurations.
Exactly. So as you know, we got the PC1120, which can do 4, 5, 6 colors. Excellent productivity, no slowdown. Game-changing capabilities that drive better profit, better ROI. Like any good solution, you want to bring that downstream, economies of scale, if you will. So this week we launched the new SC285 as well as the SC2100S. Of course, that comes in 5-color configurations, so you can put it with gold and silver. And yes, it does use the 4.7 micron toner, which gives you better fine line detail, better on coated textured type of stocks. Again, giving you a little more productivity. But it also, the 2 products have a little bit of automation in them that we don't have in other products, where we've got real-time auto run correction, whether it's looking at density uniformity issues, whether it's looking at front to back registration. And again, real time, right? Closed loop, so that's a really big thing. So where in some cases you've got automation where you've got push button, that's fantastic. Well, what if I said you don't have to push a button and you get more time back because it's closed loop? So really, giving back more on-press automation, and we love to talk about automation here at Fujifilm.
I can't help thinking about, because to many, Revoria is still a new brand, of course. When you look at the distribution worldwide, how far have you got with distribution so far?
Oh, I mean, I think we pretty much hit on every market, right? So we started in Asia Pacific, we went into Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and now we're coming into the Americas market, in U.S., Canada, Mexico, Brazil. So we're really, maximizing. You always talk about that innovation, drives behavior in the market. So that continued innovation, on-press automation, as you've heard me say before, it's more than just pretty pictures. It's what are you driving for value on automation, and yes, all those cool embellishments, that's what gets them in the door, but it's the automation that keeps them running and in business.
It's not because I didn't want to talk about that. The reason I'm asking is just because when we are at Drupa, which is like, I heard from the chairman that it's like 175 countries are represented here. I was just curious because, I mean, bringing these machines to market must be like an enormous challenge, and now you have something that looks really good, that has, let's say, the AI capabilities of actually auto-correcting any print that you have on the machine. So one thing is the technology, another thing is getting them out, of course.
It's getting it out, but that's a good point that you make, is if you look at economies of scale. So some people might not have the budget to get into a PC1120, but guess what? This EPC mid and EPC high space for the 2 products, it makes a more affordable price point, but keeps them at that quality and that productivity that gets them in the game. So we're really happy about that.
So just to understand that, so you typically have the CMYK configuration plus 1. And the 1, is that like neon colors, metal colors, clear colors, or what are they?
That's clear, gold, silver, white.
So it's the same as you basically can get on the Revoria, but instead of having it in 1 pass, then you just have like 1 color less, basically.
Exactly. So we don't have the exactly. Yeah.
And I know that you just came to the show here this morning. Have you talked to customers? What is the feedback so far?
I think the feedback is exactly what we talked about before. It's like, thank you for bringing that technology downstream, but also adding some of the on-press automation. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about pre-press workflow and this. We don't call it a portfolio per se. We call it a digital disruption platform, right? So our digital disruption platform.
That's a good name, right?
Well,
it's a good name, right?
There you go. XMF workflow. I mean, all those great things. We talk about workflows and hybrid workflows. we can take, if I'm in an offset shop and I'm in a digital shop, I've got XMF workflow, which I can take one image and I can drop it to my CTP, or I can take that same image and drop it to any one of these presses, right? All automated, right? True hybrid. So we not only have the workflow we can help you, which is agnostic, but we can also own the technology that it's going down to. So truly offering you that, like I talked, disruptive digital platform for our customers, and customers who maybe aren't with us yet.
Another thing I can't help asking you when I have the chance here, right? Because I mean, you're in CTP, you're in toner,
Yep.
you're in inkjet, you're also in continuous feed. I mean, you have a wide range of products.
You forgot workflow, standalone print heads,
Oh yeah, that's true.
specialty inks,
And wide format as well.
and grand format, wide format, yep.
I was a little bit curious about it because I mean, often when you're a printing company, you use the different technologies for different, let's say, applications. That can be like personalization, can also be extended color gamut, can also be short runs. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. So how do these machines work together across the span?
Well, that's a good question, and it's really, so if you look at the, that digital platform, and we call it a platform because you might want to enter it at different spots and it might not mean something to you. But if you look at what encapsulates that, it's that XMF workflow that brings it all together. And when I first came here, I saw that XMF was sort of in the middle part of that platform discussion. I'm like, no. It should be around the entire thing, because really it allows that workflow to drive to any one of those multiple print offerings throughout the portfolio. And I think, honestly, I think that workflow drives the innovation and drives the need down to those presses, and is going to deliver better value, regardless of where you're at in the technology printing spectrum.
When we look at my colleagues and also maybe inkish a little bit, I think that too often we focus maybe too much on inkjet, even though it's interesting, but it's still a fraction of the market. I guess that you still sell way more toner devices than any number of inkjet devices. How important is this business to Fujifilm?
The toner-based business? I think it's hugely important. I mean, as you look at, we've got a great market share in the plates business. That's a consumable. Well, as you know, there's a decline in that, and it's declining revenue declines about 8% per year, despite having great market share. So you need to figure out, okay, well, how are you going to make it up in the business? And I think that the toner-based technology, whether it's this or it's the new B2 12500 that we're talking about, the consumables off that will really help hyperdrive our business, but also deliver more value for our customers that are making that switch in that whole digital metamorphosis, if you will, because transformative is 4 years ago. It helps them make that change. So it's going to help thrust our business forward for the next 100 years, I think.
The reason I'm asking is, of course, because when I often talk to people that do, let's say, only inkjet, for example, right? Yeah. I often ask them whether it's now the time for changing from offset to digital, right? Yeah. Or inkjet at least, right? Yeah. And I was just wondering, I mean, because now when we spoke about what we should talk about, because I know you can talk about anything, Andrew, right? I was just thinking that the toner, I often think that we tend to forget a little bit about how important toner is. I mean, you look at the samples, stunning quality, right? Cost of ownership, low, right? It's a mature technology that had like all the flaws that you knew from the past is totally gone, right? So here we are standing in front of machines that are really productive and really give you a lot of potential revenue and profit, right? And that is maybe also a message that we all should be focusing a little bit more on that instead of just what is newer. Right?
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think we tend to focus sometimes on our little fiefdoms in there. But if you've looked, at Fujifilm, and as an employee of Fujifilm, I'm responsible for our print-on-demand toner devices. But I look across the aisle, we've got two different B2 devices, right? We've got our inkjet, right? And then we've got our toner base, and people say, well, where do you make the differentiation? Well, that's a great question. I'll say, if I'm an offset person looking to get into B2 but digital, the J-Press is probably the natural progression for me. If I'm a toner person, I'm used to a toner workflow, used to the image quality and color, knowing it's gotten better. Maybe the 12500 is the product for me, right? So we give those options back, but then we're also looking at some of the CF inkjet. I mean, if you look where we've come in 10 years from the image quality, speed, you're not talking about transactional goods here. You're talking about heavy coverage, really photocentric, direct mail. So really, I'm surprised how far. It's crazy being away for 8 years. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, we've come so far. It's almost like you want to do these things with that cap because you see the big differences in that time that it's made. So certainly, I think that we can deliver value to all areas of the market.
Last question. You say on demand, right? think that on-demand is way more than just having an online presence today, right? So how do you see it, and how do you, as a supplier, help your customers, let's say, that journey from having, let's say, key account managers to having an online presence to see on-demand as in a wider perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the goal, and you know, you hear a lot about client centricity, customer centricity, and being client focused and being obsessed with that. To that vein, you need to make yourself available as an online presence, right? And being able to use those tools. So I think we're working with a lot of e-commerce platforms where we can make ourselves available to that and not have to worry about a guy out there flogging prints, but making sure that you've got that presence where you're showing that. And then when you get that e-commerce, making it sure that it's bespoke, it's tailored to their business, it speaks to them and their needs. I think that's that evolution of the e-commerce and making yourself easier to do business with. Does that make sense?